They said Seth Rollins was unstoppable. They said he was the architect, the man who could take any punishment and still rise. But what happened last night wasn't a storyline. It wasn't scripted. It was the horrifying moment when reality came crashing down on one of WWE's most beloved champions. Midway through an untelevised event in San Jose, Seth Rollins stumbled out of the ring. His face was pale, his breathing uneven. Fans thought it was part of the match. Some even cheered, believing it was another brilliant piece of acting from one of wrestling's greatest performers. But the look in his eyes said otherwise. This was different. This was real. The fall. Witnesses say Seth tried to shake it off, gripping the barricade, trying to stand tall. But then, in front of thousands, his legs gave out. He collapsed flat onto the floor. The crowd went silent. Ringside doctors sprinted past security, waving frantically for a stretcher. The word, injury, doesn't even begin to cover what people saw. This wasn't a single bad fall. This was the culmination of years of brutal punishment, torn ligaments, concussions, and relentless travel schedules. This was Seth Rollins' body finally saying, enough. Roman Reigns' desperate dash. The moment Roman Reigns got the call, everything stopped. Forget schedules. Forget appearances. The tribal chief was on the first private flight to California. Roman's history with Seth is complicated. Brothers, rivals, champions, betrayers, friends. But when one Shield brother falls, the other comes running. People at the hospital's emergency wing reported seeing Roman stride in wearing a hoodie, his head down, his hands clenched tight. He didn't care about cameras. He didn't care about the reporters shouting questions. He wanted answers. Fast. The medical reality. Doctors confirmed Seth had been dealing with a string of untreated injuries. The knee that's been wrapped for months. Worse than fans knew. The back spasms he'd downplayed in interviews. More serious than anyone realized. And here's where the anger comes in. WWE's medical clearance protocols are now under heavy fire. Sources claim Seth had begged for more time off. That he'd been advised by his personal physician to skip at least 3 months of in-ring action. But creative reportedly pressured him into pushing through for storyline reasons. The fighting champion image brings ratings, and ratings mean money. So Seth fought, night after night, until last night, when his body finally broke. The Shield legacy at risk. Roman Reigns knows what it's like to face life-threatening health issues. His own battle with leukemia left scars far deeper than the fans ever saw. And now, watching Seth lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to monitors, those memories are flooding back. This isn't just about a superstar's career anymore. This is about a man's life. The locker room fallout. Backstage, wrestlers are furious. Several top names are reportedly demanding WWE revise its wellness and scheduling policies. Some are calling Seth's collapse the breaking point that will finally force change. But others are whispering something darker, that Seth's injuries were worse than even Roman knew. That there's talk of permanent damage to his spine if he returns too soon. That this could be the end of his in-ring career altogether. Why this moment matters. Fans aren't just heartbroken. They're angry. Angry that one of the hardest working performers in wrestling has been pushed to this point. Angry that corporate greed might have played a role in his collapse. Angry that the brotherhood between Roman and Seth is being tested in the cruelest way possible. And now, every update from that California hospital feels like life or death. Roman didn't wait. The moment he knew Seth was stable enough to speak, he went hunting for the people responsible. And by hunting, I mean storming through that California hospital like the tribal chief had just declared war. Security tried to stop him. Big mistake. Roman brushed past them like they were rookies in a training camp. He knew exactly who he wanted to talk to. WWE's senior management and medical staff. Inside a small, sterile conference room, Triple H sat with the company's head physician. Their expressions were tight, professional, but Roman's. His eyes were burning. You knew, Roman growled, voice low but dangerous. Don't tell me you didn't see this coming. The man's been limping for weeks. Triple H shifted uncomfortably. We monitored him. Monitored. Roman cut him off. You used him. Seth didn't want to disappoint anyone, so he kept saying yes. And you let him. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Even the doctor avoided eye contact. The leaked truth. Here's where things get ugly. Sources inside the hospital claim Roman was shown private medical reports Seth had been filing for months, reports that WWE management allegedly ignored. Torn MCL. Degenerative disc warning signs. Elevated concussion risk. In other words, Seth had been a walking time bomb. And last night, it finally exploded. When Roman saw those reports, he didn't yell. He didn't throw furniture. He just stared, jaw clenched, and said one sentence that shook everyone in that room. If Seth can't walk again, you'll wish this was just a wrestling storyline. Back in the room with Seth. By the time Roman returned to Seth's hospital room, the energy had shifted. Seth was awake, but pale. His voice was barely above a whisper. They knew, bro, Roman said, pulling up a chair. They knew, and they still put you out there. Seth gave a tired half smile. We all knew. That's the business. You work hurt until you can't. Roman leaned forward, shaking his head. Not anymore. Not for you. There was silence. Then, for the first time in his career, Seth Rollins, the man who built the reputation of being WWE's Iron Man, looked scared. Not of losing a title. Not of missing WrestleMania. But of what came next, if this really was the end. The fallout begins. By the next morning, word of Roman's confrontation had leaked to every wrestling news outlet. Twitter was ablaze. Hashtags like #ProtectSeth and #WWE Accountability were trending worldwide. Fans weren't mincing words. They wanted answers. They wanted change. They wanted someone held responsible for pushing one of the company's hardest workers to the point of collapse. And as pressure mounted online, WWE issued a vague corporate statement. Seth Rollins is receiving the best care possible. We look forward to his return when medically cleared. Translation. They were in full damage control mode, and Roman Reigns wasn't buying a single word of it. The show opens with the arena bathed in red lights, a haunting silence broken only by the slow, deliberate entrance of Roman Reigns. The tribal chief walks down, his eyes cold, no championship over his shoulder, just the weight of authority pressing on everyone's chest. His expression isn't anger, it's disappointment, and that's worse. In the ring, Roman picks up the mic. Last week, I told you all that this family was built on loyalty. But lately, I've been seeing cracks. And cracks in the foundation lead to the whole empire falling apart. Paul Heyman, standing in the corner, is sweating bullets, clutching the mic like he's ready to intervene if Roman's temper flares. Before Roman can continue, the music hits. Jimmy Uso walks out, no smile, no swagger. He's got a mic in hand and a look that says he's done biting his tongue. Jimmy gets in the ring, stares right at Roman. You talk about loyalty, use, but you only mean loyalty to you. Not the family, not the blood, just you. The crowd explodes, chanting, Uso. Uso. Roman's jaw tightens. He steps closer, towering over Jimmy. Careful, you're stepping into dangerous waters. Before it can escalate, Solo Sikoa's music hits. The silent enforcer walks down, glancing between them like he's choosing which side he's on. He steps into the ring, and stands beside Roman. The tension spikes. But then, out of nowhere, Kevin Owens' music blasts. He storms down the ramp with a steel chair in hand. Roman smirks, expecting Owens to target Jimmy, but Owens slides in and swings at Solo. Chaos erupts. Roman retreats to the outside as Owens, Jimmy, and Solo brawl. The segment ends with Roman standing at the top of the ramp, glaring down at the ring, while Paul Heyman whispers urgently in his ear. The bloodline is unraveling, and Roman knows it. Backstage cameras catch Roman Reigns storming through the hallway, shoving production staff out of the way. Paul Heyman scrambles to keep up, practically begging Roman to stop before things spiral further. Heyman. My tribal chief, we cannot afford to fracture the bloodline before SummerSlam. Roman cutting him off, it's already fractured, Paul. Roman throws open the locker room door so hard it smashes against the wall. Inside, Solo Sikoa is sitting with ice packs taped to his ribs. Jimmy Uso is pacing the floor, still fired up from the confrontation. Roman steps inside, slams the door shut, and the silence is deafening. Roman. You two want to act like men. Then start acting like it. I don't care if you hate each other, you bleed the same blood. You protect that. Jimmy. Protect it. Or protect you. The words hang in the air like a loaded gun. Solo shifts uncomfortably but doesn't speak. Roman's face hardens. He steps forward, nose to nose with Jimmy. Roman. Watch your mouth. Before anyone can move, a loud crash echoes from the hallway. Kevin Owens is being dragged away by security, still shouting that Roman's time is coming. The distraction only fuels the tension in the room. Roman turns to Solo. Roman. If Owens comes near the family again, you put him down. Hard. Solo gives a slow nod, but Jimmy shakes his head. Jimmy. Nah, maybe Owens has a point. Maybe your time is coming, use. Roman freezes. The camera zooms in on his glare, and for a second, it looks like he's about to snap. But instead, he smirks. A dangerous, cold smirk. Roman. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. He walks out, leaving Jimmy and Solo staring at each other, both knowing war is inevitable. The screen fades to black with one message in bold. Next week. Bloodline Civil War. The moment Seth Rollins collapsed, you could feel the air in the arena shift from electric to absolutely horrifying in less than a second. One moment, the crowd was screaming for him to fight through another brutal sequence, and the next, silence. Deafening silence. Seth was lying flat on the mat, his arm twitching slightly, his face pale, and Roman Reigns, still in full tribal chief mode just seconds earlier, suddenly broke character entirely. He was out of the ring, sprinting toward the timekeeper's area, shouting for someone to get medics out there right now. You could hear it even without a microphone. This isn't part of the show. The chaos was instant. Fans in the front rows were screaming for help, camera operators were caught off guard, some still filming because they thought maybe it was part of a spot. But it wasn't. Not this time. This wasn't a stunt, a storyline injury, or a way to build drama for WrestleMania. Seth Rollins, the visionary, the architect, the man who has carried the WWE Championship picture for years, had just collapsed in front of thousands in attendance and millions watching around the world. And if you think that's dramatic, wait until you hear why it happened. Backstage sources we've spoken to are saying this wasn't just a freak accident. Seth has been working hurt for months, years, even. His knee, not fully healed since that ACL tear way back in 2015. His back, constantly in pain from carrying brutal ladder matches, steel cage landings, and non-stop touring. And his ribs. According to one person inside WWE's medical team, they've been bruised and rebruised in the last 6 months alone. This man has been taping himself together like a gladiator walking into the Coliseum, match after match, because he loves this business. But last night, his body finally said, no more. Roman Reigns was the first person to reach him. He slid back into the ring, dropped to one knee beside Seth, and you could see the look in his eyes. This wasn't Roman the performer, this was Joe Anoa'i the friend. He yelled toward ringside for EMTs. He even waved off the referee's attempt to check Seth, pulling him back, clearly worried about moving him the wrong way. The cameras cut awkwardly, WWE's production crew scrambling between what to show and what to hide. For a moment, the broadcast went to a crowd shot, but fans in the arena started flooding Twitter and Instagram with shaky phone footage of Roman pacing like a caged animal, shouting at someone off camera. The medics rushed in, and here's where it gets worse. They didn't just help Seth to the back like normal. They brought out the stretcher. You could hear a collective gasp ripple through the building. Roman immediately grabbed one side of the stretcher as they rolled it toward the entrance ramp, barking at security to clear the way. I've been told Roman insisted on going with Seth to the hospital, which is why, moments after they disappeared behind the curtain, an SUV peeled out from the loading dock in record time. Roman sitting in the front passenger seat, Seth strapped down in the back, oxygen mask on his face. By the time they reached the hospital in California, Roman's demeanor had changed from frantic to laser-focused. People inside the ER said he marched Seth straight past the waiting room, straight into trauma care, demanding the best specialists available. And this is where the rage starts to build, because according to multiple insiders, WWE officials knew Seth was in no condition to wrestle tonight. They pushed him to go through with the match anyway because of storyline commitments and ticket sales momentum. Let that sink in. This man was already nursing multiple injuries, but the company's decision-making process put business before health. And now Seth Rollins is in a hospital bed, barely able to move. Triple H was reportedly on the phone with the hospital within minutes, but here's the kicker. Roman Reigns wasn't shy about letting him know exactly how he felt. One witness claims Roman told Triple H, if Seth can't walk again, that's on you. Another says Roman has been threatening to walk out of WWE entirely if they keep pushing injured superstars beyond their limits. And judging by the way Roman has been acting lately, I wouldn't take that as an empty threat. Other wrestlers are furious too. Becky Lynch, Seth's wife, was apparently mid-flight when she got the news. She landed, immediately headed for the hospital, and reportedly refused to speak to any WWE representatives on the way. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Cody Rhodes have all been vocal behind the scenes about the unsafe working conditions, and the tension in that locker room is at a boiling point. Here's something the mainstream media won't tell you. This collapse didn't just happen because of one bad landing or one unlucky shot. This has been building for months, maybe years. Remember the matches with Nakamura where Seth was clutching his back after every big move. Remember the countless times he limped to the back after shows, waving off help from trainers. WWE wanted to keep it quiet. They wanted the image of Seth Rollins as the Iron Man of the company, a man who could wrestle through anything. But now the truth is out, and it's ugly. Fans are furious, and you should be too. Social media is exploding with hashtags like #JusticeForSeth and #WWEProtectYourStars. Thousands are demanding that WWE change its policies, implement stricter medical checks, and stop forcing injured wrestlers into the ring for the sake of, the show must go on. But will they listen? Or will this be another case where they release a polished PR statement, promise to do better, and quietly go back to business as usual? The fact that Roman Reigns, the face of WWE, the tribal chief, the man who has been at the top for over 1,400 days, dropped everything to ride in that ambulance tells you how serious this is. Roman doesn't break character. Roman doesn't skip post-match segments. For him to throw the entire show into chaos just to be by Seth's side means this is more than just a storyline. And here's the part that's going to keep you up tonight. There are whispers coming out of that hospital that Seth may be facing career-threatening injuries. One source even told us that doctors are concerned about permanent damage to his lower spine and nerve compression that could end his in-ring career entirely. If that happens, WWE will lose one of its greatest performers of all time, and it will be on their hands. So here's my question to you. If Seth Rollins never wrestles again, who's responsible? Is it the company for pushing him too far? Is it the fans for cheering when he toughed it out through pain? Or is it Seth himself for refusing to take time off? I want you to blow up that comment section with your thoughts, because this conversation needs to happen right now, not after it's too late. And don't think for a second this story is over. Roman Reigns is still in that hospital as we speak, reportedly refusing to leave until Seth wakes up and talks to him. If that's not loyalty, I don't know what is. But it also means Roman might be ready to go to war with WWE management over this, and when the tribal chief goes to war, people listen.